Mormons are promised that after they are baptized and confirmed, that they can have the gift of the Holy Ghost as a constant companion if they remain worthy. The Holy Ghost is the third member of the Mormon Godhead and teaches, inspires, and guides people via whispers and through feelings. According to the Church, the Holy Ghost is also what testifies of the truthfulness of the Book of Mormon and of the Church itself. Members will have deeply profound spiritual experiences that get interpreted through the lens of Mormonism and are understood to be evidence that the Church is true. But after you stop believing, is it possible to still have these types of experiences? Welcome, friends, enemies, and everyone in between, to my channel, The Masked Mormon. I am, of course, The Masked Mormon.
Why you wearing a mask? Were you burned by acid or something like that?
Oh no, it's just they're terribly comfortable. I think everyone will be wearing them in the future.
I'm a Mormon who used to believe that I could access special knowledge from God and could have occasional spiritual experiences that would guide me, warn me, or teach me about the truthfulness of the Church. Then I came to realize that these experiences that are claimed by members of the Church to be evidence that God is pointing people to the Church were actually common experiences that were shared by believers of other religions and also by non-believers. Now that I am a non-believer, how do I reconcile the spiritual experiences I had as a believer? And now, as a non-believer, do I still have these experiences? Spoiler alert, yes, I do. And because I understand how they work, I can actually summon them at will. The magic is that there's no magic at all. Spiritual experiences in Mormonism are tied to the Holy Ghost, also known as the Spirit. The Holy Ghost is a member of the Godhead in the Mormon pantheon, alongside God the Father and Jesus Christ. According to Preach My Gospel, the missionary guide, the gift of the Holy Ghost is one of the greatest gifts that God has to give us. It bestows on the believer certain powers. Some might even say superpowers. It gives the believer revelatory power, guidance, and promptings from God Himself. These promptings from the Spirit tell the believer what to do and what to say. The influence of the Holy Ghost magnifies the believer's abilities beyond what that individual could do on their own. The Holy Ghost is just that, a ghost, a spirit without a body. This allows the Holy Ghost to dwell within someone. This ghost comforts, teaches, and testifies of Jesus. According to church teachings, it's by the Holy Ghost a person can receive a testimony of the church and of the Book of Mormon. After baptism, a new member will be confirmed and will have the gift of the Holy Ghost bestowed upon them. The gift of the Holy Ghost is the right to have the constant companionship of the Holy Ghost, if you are worthy. The "if you are worthy" portion of that sentence does a lot of heavy lifting. The Holy Ghost, a member of the Godhead and a God in its own right, is easily offended. What a person says, thinks, or does, or even situations that a person can find themselves within, is something that can easily offend the Holy Ghost, and it will withdraw, leaving that person alone to their own devices. This can make a believing member scared to do things that are deemed wrong by the church. Hearing or saying swear words, watching certain movies, hearing certain songs, having certain doubts are enough to offend this apparently godlike being. And this can cause a member to do a lot of self-policing because they want access to the superpowers of the Holy Ghost. These powers, like I said, they can be good feelings of peace or comfort and hope. It can be enlightenment and ideas that the person might not think that they could normally come up with themselves, or finding meaning in the holy texts of Mormonism, or even an ability to discern the thoughts and feelings of another person. The so-called gifts of the Spirit, including healing and the gift of tongues, guidance about what to do and when, enhanced skills and abilities, and so many other things. Now, these things all sound great, and they are all based on feelings and emotions. I feel like I can discern what you did, as a bishop hears the confession of a teenager who describes a physical experience with her boyfriend. I feel like I am receiving revelation on what to do with the rest of my life. As a missionary makes progress on learning a foreign language, they will feel like they have the gift of tongues. As a man lays hands on the head of a sick person, he will feel like he is channeling revelation from God to heal them of a disease. These feelings are often divorced from the reality of the situation. There is no discernment. Feeling like you know what to do with the rest of your life is just that, a feeling. Practicing a foreign language will result in being able to speak that language. A person will either get better from an illness or they won't, independent of if they've received a blessing. In all of this, a believer will have special spiritual experiences that can be important touchstones in their life. Now, I say all of this to give background to anyone who might not be familiar with the church. Having spiritual experiences is an important aspect of the church experience. Any spiritual experience that a person has while in the church is mediated by this Holy Ghost. And any such experience is interpreted through the lens that the church gives, an interpretation of, namely, that the Holy Ghost is telling the member that the church is true. Most often, a lot of ordinary experiences, like warm, tingly feelings, get reinterpreted or expanded on as something more dramatic. Experiences that everyone has had get recontextualized as unique to the church experience. I have had profound spiritual experiences as a believer. As a non-believer, can I still have them now? Everything I do according to the church offends the Holy Ghost. I drink coffee. Sometimes I might drink a little alcohol. I post videos on the internet that are critical of God's true church. The heavens should be closed to me, and I shouldn't have access to those feelings and powers anymore. But I do. And I have them more often, and I can summon them on demand, because I now know the principles on which they occur. The feelings associated with the feelings of the Holy Ghost are actually common to the human experience. And I'm going to discuss a couple of them and how to call on these things on demand and how to recontextualize past experiences. The first emotion is called elevation emotion. Elevation is that uplifting surge you get when witnessing acts of moral beauty or of kindness or of human goodness. It's like your chest expands and you feel warm inside. Maybe even that teary-eyed feeling that you get. Does that sound familiar? In Mormonism, this is often the burning in the bosom. Elevation can motivate a person to assist others, become more altruistic, and feel optimistic about humanity. But here's the thing. Elevation isn't supernatural. It's a hardwired human response, evolved to encourage social bonding and cooperation. Researchers like Jonathan Haidt have studied it. When you see someone helping a stranger or overcoming the odds, your brain releases oxytocin, the love hormone, and you feel inspired to be better. Humans are social creatures, and we thrive in groups. A lone human is a dead human, and we can't thrive without social interactions. Because of that, we have evolved to cooperate in groups. As such, elevation emotion has been shown to increase pro-social behavior. And it's fairly easy to elicit elevation emotion yourself. Perhaps the easiest way is to seek out stories of human triumph. No prayer is required. These stories can be real or fictional. Take, for instance, a story that I have found powerful despite the fact that it's likely fictional. And it recounts something that an anthropologist apparently said. Here's the story. When asked about what the earliest signs of civilization were for humanity, an anthropologist responded saying, It wasn't cities or cultures, but evidence of a healed femur in an ancient human. In the animal world, a broken leg, especially a femur, is a death sentence. A predator can easily take down such an injured animal. But a healed femur suggests that other members of the tribe cared for and protected this individual long enough for them to recover. Now, that's a beautiful story, isn't it? Even if it isn't true, it gives me hope for what humanity can be. Because we see examples of people putting themselves in harm's way to rescue strangers or to help others. After an earthquake or a hurricane, teams of people will help rescue strangers or help clean up. During 9/11, a large number of people put themselves in harm's way to save as many people as they could, even to the cost of their own lives. Films like Saving Private Ryan or Interstellar or The Martian, besides showing that Matt Damon often gets into a lot of difficult situations, illustrates the efforts and troubles a lot of people will go through to rescue someone else. As I have mentioned before, I love Star Trek in all of its incarnations. Now, as cool as the ships and the stories are, what I like most about it is the world and the philosophy about humanity that Gene Roddenberry and those that followed after him built. In the Star Trek universe, Earth has been able to overcome poverty, disease, discrimination, and to build an interstellar federation built on cooperation and respect. It makes me feel a sense of hope for humanity, and it makes me want to be part of building that type of world. A somewhat related emotion is called frisson, from the French word for shiver. It's the psychological response to a rewarding stimuli, like music, films or stories, people, and rituals. It's the feeling that you get during a powerful movement. For instance, in the movie Independence Day, when the president gives his rousing speech and the music swells and crescendos, and he says, "We will not go quietly into the night. We will not vanish without a fight. We're going to live on. We're going to survive. Today we celebrate our Independence Day." And the chills and the feelings that I had in that moment were inspiring. The dopamine rush that happens in moments like this is your brain's way of saying, "Whoa, pay attention. This is profound." As a kid, and even now, I love listening to film scores, especially ones that had epic or swelling moments. Some of my favorites are the scores to films like the aforementioned Independence Day, Apollo 13, From the Earth to the Moon, The Rock, Armageddon, Starship Troopers, Castaway, How to Train Your Dragon, The Pursuit of Happiness, and so many more that I really don't have time to mention them all. They made me feel like I wanted to be a better person, like I wanted to be great. They made me feel hope and like the problems of humanity were surmountable. I have gotten similar feelings when reading certain books as well, especially as they described what humanity could be or about people overcoming barriers. A favorite since leaving religion is the book Sapiens by Noah Yuval Harari. I have also loved the autobiography of Arnold Schwarzenegger, especially as he describes his early life and career. I feel these things as I read stories of people overcoming prejudice or standing up to tyranny and injustice. Even as a believer, I would seldom receive these emotions from reading the scriptures. But I did at times on my mission when we would sing certain songs, or when a video would be shown that had swelling music. I would often misinterpret this as the Spirit, but it was the same feeling that I had as I listened to the music I described, or watched movies that inspired me, or read books that made me want to be better. The church taught me that these sorts of feelings weren't the same as those moderated through the church. But as I reflect on them, they were the same, and they were caused by the same thing. The church teaches that if you have a warm, positive emotion, then what is being taught or said is true. The marketing teams for the church realized that these feelings can be engineered with the proper setup. The church-owned Bonneville International Media Company trademarked a process called heart cell. It's the technique of strategic emotional advertising meant to stimulate a particular response. Church marketing is designed to tug at your heart in a certain way. For those of you who saw church commercials in the 90s and early 2000s, there would be, I don't know, maybe a parent focused on some sort of day-to-day activity, and their child would be vying for their attention, getting discouraged when they were ignored. Then the parent would stop and they would make a realization about what was important in life. And then the music would swell and the narration would come up and the narrator would say, "Family, isn't it about time?" And then advertise the church. But the thing about Heart Cell is that it can be used to sell any product, not just the church. The church has known for a long time how to induce those feelings in people. They used it in their commercials, in films that are shown at their visitor center, like, I don't know, The Testaments, based on the story of Jesus' visit to America described in the Book of Mormon. They try to teach missionaries how to use it in their teaching, but it's based on common human experiences. Whenever we see perceived virtuous activities, our brains release dopamine that helps to tie us together as a community. As non-believers, we don't lose this ability. Instead, we liberate it from dogma. Like Heart Cell, we can understand the underlying principles that govern these experiences and learn how to have them ourselves. It can be yours to command. How do you engineer these experiences as a non-believer? Well, the first step is reframing them. Instead of saying to yourself, "God spoke to me," think, "My mind created insight through emotion." For example, that prompting to help someone, it was intuition and empathy, evolved traits that helped our ancestors to survive. People who reframe these experiences report less regret and more empowerment. It's not about denial, it's evolution in understanding. After reframing these experiences, then you can find a source that you can draw from at will. It could be films and books. Those are great starting places. I have mentioned several already. Finding inspiring podcasts or delving into the philosophy of humanism can get you into that mindset. Then you can build a habit of exposure and rumination on those things. Then you can customize it as you see fit. Now, I hope this is kind of starting to sound familiar, because this is the same thing that the church says to do with its own sources. It teaches members to read and to pray and to do service, etc. Except it's usually limited to church sources and church interpretations. But there are a lot of people who never had these types of experiences with church materials. They didn't resonate with them for whatever reason. You can use the same pattern to build your own personal rituals on whatever works for you. The church isn't unique in how such experiences happen. This isn't about faking these experiences. It's about understanding how they happen in the first place. And once you do, then you can engineer them at will. But what about the spiritual experiences that I had as a believer? They felt real and transformative. Well, they were real. They were real emotions and real feelings. The transformative power was just as real as any other profound experience a person has. As a non-believer, you don't have to throw them away. You can reinterpret them as important human experiences instead of evidence for God. They still have value. They helped build community and love and a ritual of belonging. These are shared human experiences that bond family, friends, and community members, and they can be meaningful even without divinity. As a non-believer, you can have spiritual experiences that were just as powerful as when you were a believer. I no longer believe in the divinity of Jesus, but I try to adopt the philosophies of Jesus for caring for the poor and the marginalized and the foreigner. I feel connection when I write scripts for my videos and interact with you in the comments. I enjoy having difficult political and theological and scientific discussions with people, even if I disagree with them, while keeping in mind that they have value as human beings, even if I might disagree with their position on some topic. While the church tries to make these experiences somewhat magical and limit their scope and interpretation, I have found that they are not magical at all. All people have these experiences and can learn how to have them. All people have these experiences and can learn how to have them. I feel that if more people learned how to have these experiences themselves without tying them to dogma, humanity would probably be in a better place than it is now. But what are your thoughts? How do you feel the Spirit as a non-believer? If you're a believer, does this help you understand the process better? Let me know down in the comments. And let's continue this conversation there. And if you like what I do, please press the like button and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.